Regarding the long-term consequences of the Michigan primary, I should acknowledge that I'm contradicting myself. I'm suggesting that there's reason to be suspicious about the voting results because the polling suggests that Clinton should have an advantage in the caucuses, despite what the media says. The fact that Clinton is doing poorly in the caucuses in blue states is strongly suggestive of a rigged primary. I'll say that again. The fact that Clinton is doing poorly in the caucuses in blue states is strongly suggestive of a rigged primary. Now, a rigged primary is not something that happens just at the counting stage. It's something that happens at the polling stage, too. So if I'm making this accusation that the process is suspicious, I'm throwing the polling out the window as I'm doing it. I'm essentially finding something that was overlooked. Okay, they didn't think anybody would see that contradiction or key in on it, although they seem to have seen the necessity in making the obviously wrong assertion that Sanders should overperform in the caucuses. I know the media keeps saying this, but that makes absolutely no sense. All polling suggests the exact opposite, that if you prevent independents from participating, Clinton should win by large margins. So when they throw away the caucuses as weird, what they mean to say is that the results are not predetermined. We can't rig this because it's a caucus. There's no way we can flood or stuff these ballot boxes because people have to show up and put their hands up in the air and say, I voted, I'm voting for this. So they just throw it away as weird because it's outside of their control. And if you can't see through that, then your analysis is worthless. Okay, but then I'm going ahead and relying on the polling and suggesting that Michigan should be closer than expected. Michigan is an open primary, but it has a secret ballot. Secret ballot. So you can't actually build that one-to-one relationship between a cast ballot and an actual human without carrying out an audit. And even if somebody bothers, it will be too late by the time it's done. So this is why I'm calling for Bernie to run as an independent. The longer he goes through the process of losing in a rigged primary, the more compromised what he's saying becomes. He's got lots of money. The DNC obviously doesn't want him. The question is whether he's gotten everything he can out of the DNC and whether it's time to move on. Okay? If Trump runs as an independent, which is seeming more likely every passing day, this completely changes the logic. It's now no longer a question of splitting the vote and letting the Republicans win, which is the overriding reason that Bernie has given for running within the Democratic Party in the first place. So what he's saying is he doesn't want to run as an independent because he doesn't want to split the vote. But if Trump splits the vote, then the vote's already split, and, if Trump runs as an independent, then Clinton wins in a landslide, right? So then, by not running as an independent, he's handing it to Clinton, right? So, if you have a chance to break up the two-party system, you should do it. That's true, right? Bernie probably won't get much done as president. It's the reality of the system. He'll be stuck with, Democrats voting against him, right? But if you can help break up the system, he'll have accomplished something of real value. But yes, I'm absolutely contradicting myself and claiming the process is inconsistent and relying on it to make a prediction. If I'm right that it's inconsistent, my predictions are not based on anything, and if my predictions turn out to be accurate, it questions my assertion that the process is right. It's just cognitive dissonance. Okay, I'm under the same pressures that everybody else is to accept the supposed results and reject conspiracy theories, but the narrative remains incoherent, and it does require some kind of explanation. So, if I suspend my disbelief in the accuracy of the results, I should expect a close Clinton win. Perhaps not quite as close as Massachusetts, but something along those lines. That is what the snapshot polling data suggests. And when one wants to look at snapshot data in these circumstances, not polling aggregates, which are used to measure, like brand awareness, not political opinions. It's applying a model used for measuring advertising reach, which is probably actually conscious, believe it or not. That's how these people think you ought to, measure how politics works, is that you have these, people and they're putting out an advertising message and then they're measuring, how people react to the advertising. Right? But that's not how politics actually works. It's a bad model to apply. And the results are not very good as a consequence of it. Okay? If you throw away the Fox poll for obvious reasons, because it's Fox, okay, the recent polls amongst likely Democratic voters all have her at around 55. I believe there were 3 released in the last couple of days, and they all have her at about 55. But that's just amongst what they call likely Democratic voters, which means that it's overestimating her support because it's underestimating the effect of independents. So she should get less than 55 because there will be independent voters. So that's what the data that we see suggests. That it should be close, but she should get under 55. If I hold true to what the contradictions in the data are implying, then we should expect a Clinton landslide. And if you see a Clinton landslide, you will know that the vote is in fact rigged. But the flip side of that is that if they're presenting the data as they are, what that means is they're trying to make it seem close, right? And that's if we get one, then that doesn't mean that it's not rigged, right? What it means is that they've prepared us for that, and they're giving us what they prepared us for. If we get 2, then we know it's rigged, because there's no way that she wins that in a landslide. That would make no sense. Okay, so that's why I'm leaning towards 1, but I need to acknowledge that there's a possibility that we might see this big, Clinton wins huge, win by 60%, 65% like she did in the southern primaries, because Michigan is set up in such a way that she can do that. But the fact that the polling is all putting her around 55-ish suggests that they probably are not going to do that, right? But it might also suggest that Bernie might actually be winning, right? It's and they're just kind of making it seem close, right? I think that might have been what the case actually was in Massachusetts. But keep in mind that the polling in Massachusetts overweighted her, and it's probably because it was focusing entirely on Democratic voters and not independent voters, right? So there's a lot of factors here to throw around. Of course, it's why I just focused on on what the data actually says, right? But we can't discount this idea that she may rig it, right?